Shashank, so great to have you with us.
Oh, it's very nice. In fact, Goa is a great place to be.
100%,
Especially
100%.
the weather is very nice today. So
And the Goan vibe, and we have such a nice venue, W.
yes,
And we have this important car.
it's the most important car in this segment now.
But we will not talk about the car. We will talk about everything
Why
but
is
the
that
car. Okay, so you'll tell me the price point of the car?
Price difficult because we are going to start the sale in the next next few weeks.
Okay.
So that's the time when we announce the price.
Okay, we'll ask you some questions, sir.
Sure.
So we are going on a Goa trip, and before we do that, please tell us something about your professional journey.
Yes, so I joined Maruti Suzuki almost, in fact, more than 30 years back.
And now you're the
I
senior
swi-
executive director.
Yes, and I joined as a management trainee, and that was in the year 1989, and just out of college.
You're from IIM, right?
Yes, from Ahmedabad. So just out of that, from campus, I got placed in Maruti Suzuki, and it's been quite a fruitful journey. I have had some really varied experiences in the marketing and sales and the logistics divisions, and here I am after more than 30 years.
Some of the most challenging times you had, some of the most life-changing experiences. As you have you ever thought that as a management trainee you'll really go up the ranks and become the man in Maruti Suzuki one day?
Actually, of course, it's providence also. There's a lot of luck involved, but also obviously you have to work very hard as well. And I was quite clear that if you enjoy your work and you are passionate about it, you are sincere and you put in hard work and smart work, I think you will reach somewhere.
You'll reach it.
Yeah.
As they say now, that if you are the hardest member in the room, then you can also beat a talent.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be talented. If you're just a hard worker, a lot of people just by working hard.
Yes, but it's also about passion. It's also about working smart, and you have to constantly update yourself and upgrade yourself because this is a very fast-changing field.
Correct.
Especially if you see the last few years have been really different. Both, and in our case, in fact, from the time when we joined, in the late 80s, and the work environment, the culture, the economic climate, the technology, everything was like it has really changed for India.
Correct.
Yeah.
And since we are sitting in the Maruti Fronx all new, we won't be talking about, we discussed this, unless you tell me the price point, which you not. But what are your expectations like? This is such an important segment of the car now.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, if you see, the compact SUV segment is the biggest sub-segment in the industry. It's now 22.5% of the total industry. We have one product already here, which is the Brezza.
Correct.
And Brezza is the leading SUV in that segment, as you know. But when the segment expands, any large segment, when it becomes as large as the compact SUV segment today, we have always found that there is an emergence of sub-segments within a large segment. And we saw an opportunity here with the emergence of the more, I would say, younger, urban, tech-savvy people who want a lot of features, etc. Right. And also, they want to have something which is fresh and modernistic, and yet an SUV. And that is how the concept of Fronx came through. And we are expecting good volumes because this is a fairly large segment. And in fact, let me tell you that with the Jimny and the Fronx in this segment, and the Grand Vitara, which we have in the mid SUV segment, along with the Brezza already, we hope to become the #1 manufacturer in SUV as well.
But don't you think somewhere down the line, see, one Brezza is 1.5, if the price point is, of course, Brezza would have more GST since it's 1.5, 45%, and this would be, I think, 28%.
Yeah.
So price one would be a very important role because this is such a...
Yes, so obviously it will be priced differently from the Brezza.
So I got my answer.
But it has a component. It's got a 1 liter turbo.
Yes.
Also, and turbo is inherently expensive. Of course, it gives you all that thrill and performance, etc. And that option is available in the Fronx today.
Correct.
In fact, the bookings that we have got, almost 54% is for the turbo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So this is clearly a segment which is appealing to the more enthusiast.
Yes, looks like, but I'm a little wary of saying that this is going to be the long-term trend as well, for two reasons. One, we haven't yet announced the prices. Turbo will be expensive, obviously, and secondly, I also found that every time you introduce a new product, it is actually the more exotic variants which get booked first.
Correct.
And then the demand stabilizes at a little different level in the long run. So yeah, so I think that's probably going to happen with the Fronx as well.
I mean, there's so many launches happen, and Maruti has been on a roll, ever since last year. How do you manage change, and how do you manage all this leadership? Because there's so much happening.
Yes. So I think one of the most important things is to be always focused on the consumer. And in Maruti Suzuki, there is and I can tell you, I've seen it for so many years. There is an absolute paranoia about are we missing a trend? What is new happening?
Correct.
Are we losing something somewhere? And we have this, I think, great quality amongst our employees that we don't want to give even an inch. And I suppose that's the reason why Maruti Suzuki has been, the market leader ever since it came into existence. Actually, we've been market leaders for more than 40 years now.
Right.
And it's largely because of this, I would say, almost paranoia that people have, that we should be on top of things. And change, I talked about changing technology, changing economic scenario, etc. Lots have changed, and we have, and because we have always been consumer centric, we have also changed a lot. And accordingly, I like to tell you, there is a one bestseller book,
yes,
mid 90s. It's called The Innovator's Dilemma.
Innovator's Dilemma.
Yeah. And there it says the market leader normally cannot handle disruptions because one, they don't want to, because they want to have the status quo. The reason they want to have the status quo is that they are market leaders in the status quo and they are good at it. That is why they are the market leaders. So if any disruptions comes along,
it has to come from the...
Yeah, and it comes sometimes from the outside, and people... so we are very... we have actually all our employees go through these training courses where we tell them that we have to be really mindful of changes and be careful, because it's sort of a researched phenomena.
Correct.
That
like
market leader, that market leaders,
look at Nokia,
yes,
all of this has...
or Kodak, for example, that if you don't change with times, and the change can come anytime, you would have a problem no matter how big you are.
So you have a process in place to handle change.
Yes, we have, and that's in fact that's the place where, when I was getting that sort of gyan or training, I came to know about this, and then obviously I went and read a little bit.
Apart from that, tell us some of the more books that you read and you keep referring to for,
Actually, I read a lot of books, and I read, it's largely non-fiction.
So do you read on iPad, paperback or audiobook?
I have a Kindle, which is my most common this thing.
Have you used audiobooks ever?
Audiobooks, actually no, I tried. There are options, of course, where you can, but उसमें ना वो मजा एक feel नहीं आती है. So the best I get, of course, is the feel I get is not even in Kindle, but when I actually have a paperback and go through. But nowadays, more and more of my reading is on the Kindle.
Okay, and some inspiration quotes or so many leaders that you look up to?
My most favorite quote for the leadership aspect is that leaders, a sign of a good leadership is not how many followers you make, but how many leaders you make. So that is something which inspires me a lot. That you should measure your success as a leader by how many leaders that you make, and that gives me the biggest satisfaction when I see a lot of people I have worked with, who have worked under me, and they have now become leaders in their own right.
That's such a great thought. Of course, all this requires so much of mind wrecking, and so you into meditation, yoga, physically.
Yes, I do actually. So my morning schedules are actually long walk. Starts with long walks, and I think that is the time when I rejuvenate my thoughts and plan for the day and really sort of re-energize myself. It's physical activity which actually also helps you mentally as well.
Correct. So you go to gym or sports?
I go to, I know, it's a walking track.
Okay.
So I
just walk for like kilometers?
Yeah, for almost an hour or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Abhi off-late has become a very destination place for shooting and all of that. So Shashank, what advice would you give to young professionals who aspire to work in Maruti and to grow up as a career in anywhere? Like how do you think they should start their career? What qualities they should imbibe and follow to the word T?
Yes, of course. My first thing is that you should really enjoy what you are doing. You should be sure that you are, in the place where this is what you want to do. So it's not just a job. You have to love the work that you do. That's, I think, the number one credit, and I guess it's true for everywhere. Anywhere.
So take a pay cut, but join somewhere which is
where you are passionate about. Yeah.
Because the money will follow.
Yes, the money will follow, and and work will not look like work. It would be a pleasure. And that is what is the first thing. Second thing is that apart from passion, you must have a resilience, because you will see up and downs. So the resilience is a key, and a lot of times I see really talented people give up or they fall by the side because they don't have the resilience in the mind, and that is also something which is very, very important. And finally, of course, you have to really become knowledgeable of what you are doing.
Correct.
And that is how you would contribute the maximum. And of course, finally, you must always be on the lookout for what changes are happening around you.
Around you, yes.
Because sometimes you, as you grow older, you try to, sort of your views starts getting fixed.
Correct.
But if you are careful and if you are mindful, then you would see that you will get many ideas which are like more innovative, as long as you are mindful and you are conscious of the fact that change is extremely important.
And trivia question: which car do you drive personally?
I drive the Grand Vitara.
And if you have to buy another car from another brand, supercar, any luxury car, what will be your pick? Yes, you have to answer that.
I from my childhood, I always loved the Ferrari.
Okay.
You have those red color Ferraris.
Yes, of course.
And I haven't had the chance to drive the Ferrari yet.
Okay.
But it seems to be in my mind that if at all there is a chance to.
So next time I'm driving a Ferrari, I'm
Sure,
going to
right.
call. But what about the electrification and autonomous driving? But is Maruti really prepared for that change? Because how do you plan to imbibe the electric car culture, which is
Yeah, so there seems to be a consensus in the industry that going forward, electric vehicles will become the mainstream. Although it will not be the only stream.
Will not be the only stream.
Because you will have multiple technologies in order to meet the emission standards. We are getting more and more strict across the world.
Sure.
Because of the concerns to environment and so on.
Which is right.
Yeah, but where the consensus is not there in the industry is when it is going to become mainstream. So the question is not whether, but when. And on the when part, obviously it depends from country to country. The adoption curve also depends on the type of vehicle, like two-wheeler and three-wheeler is going to be faster. passenger vehicles is going to be later, four-wheelers is going to be later, and within four-wheeler maybe passenger segment is going to get the adoption a little later than fleet. So there are segment-wise changes, and including country-wise. So there are some countries who are really rich in energy,
like Sweden,
like Germany, Sweden, and they will obviously have a much more motivation and push for the adoption of EVs. But having said that, for India, we project, and most of the researchers have projected that it would be something like say 17% or so by 2030. And 2030 the market is going to be about 6 million passenger vehicles a year, out of which about 1 million annual will be the EVs. Not on the road, or 1 million in that year. Okay. Otherwise, cumulatively from here till 2030, maybe 4 million EVs, and in an overall sale of about 43 million.
And where do you see Maruti?
So Maruti's powertrain composition by 2030 expectedly would be about 15% EV and about 25% hybrid, and about 60% CNG ICE combination.
Are you also looking at other biofuels like hydrogen or?
So we are looking at flex fuel. Obviously, we showed one vehicle at the Auto Expo very recently, the Wagoner, which works on the flex fuel. That's a ethanol mixed fuels. Then biogas is the other option which we have got. And our CNG portfolio is pretty large. Actually, CNG portfolio now almost 20% of our sales is CNG.
CNG, and Maruti is like kind of a leader.
Yes, we have almost a 75% market share in CNG, and it's been showing a good growth. Even last year it showed a good growth. We did about 3.25 lakhs against about 2.34 lakhs the previous year. So that's a growth of almost 45% for CNG. And despite the fact that the CNG and the gasoline prices.
CNG users are mostly like cab drivers?
No. Now it is.
People are using it.
It's in fact you'll be surprised in Bombay and Pune for Wagoner, for Celerio, etc. We have almost 60%, 62 in some places like Pune, 70% of the buyers use CNG vehicles.
Wow. But tell me something, Shashank, do you think that the adoption of Maruti as a brand in the premium segment, you'll be able to break into that clutter of 25 lakh plus? Which your competition has somehow managed to get some there.
Correct. We were.
Or is that a space that you're not looking at also?
So it's a mix of things, and let me explain our view about things. See, we were always looked as a reliable, value, fuel efficient, and good quality. Low cost of maintenance type of organization. And that is because at that stage of the development of our economy, people had a more criteria of functionality in mind when they chose cars.
Okay.
And over a period of time, there came a segment within the auto consumers, whose criteria for buying became not just functional but transformed to aspiration. And they were looking for design and performance and features and so on and so forth. At a price point. And there is, I think, in India still both type of consumers. There is a large chunk, maybe you can call it Bharat. Bharat doesn't mean by geography, but generally speaking, it's a mindset. So there is still that functional type of customer, and then there is the aspirational type of customer.
Correct.
We did seek to address that by launching the Nexa channel. In 2016, 15-16, we launched the Nexa. It was for a more aspirational customer, and we have actually done very well. In fact, it is the 4th largest brand in the country in the automotive thing, and next year we are hoping that it will become the number 2 brand in the automotive thing. And just for your information, while Maruti Suzuki has a 60% plus market share in the less than 10 lakh vehicle segment, in the 10 to 15 lakh segment also Maruti Suzuki is the market leader.
Nice.
So we are, but there our market share is about 26%. Now beyond that, when you talk of more than 20 lakh or 25 lakh,
that market is anyways.
That is market is very, very small, but and we do not have products in that category at this time. So when the time comes, and surely because our market share target remains 50%, we would have to operate in those segments as well, and we will have to think of how to command that type of premium pricing going forward.
Correct. So, Shashank, tell me something. How do you foster all the time that everybody in the organization is pepped up, because you have a considerably workforce who have been loyal to Maruti for a long time.
Yeah.
So how do you get people to come join, and do you believe that people should, because for the generation who's watching, somehow the nuances, somehow the thought process, like, you have to keep shifting. Do you think personally that's a good take or bad take?
Yeah, so actually we have a very robust system in place for recruitment itself.
Correct.
So once people are here, obviously you have to take care of their basic requirements.
Correct.
And then also give them avenues for continuous development of self, of them. How do we do that? One is of course training constantly, but also giving them opportunities to work in different areas, and that is something which always spurs the different perspective and a different thinking, and it's great because people can think out of the box, people can think in a much wider perspective, and that is something which a culture which we have always sort of groomed in our people. In fact, to tell you about one recent initiative that we have done, we have established a separate unit. It's called the MAIL program. MAIL program is about mobility in automotive. It's called Mobility in Automotive Labs. The mobility is, we see that this is specifically a division which encourages the thinking of new mobility solutions, and there are a lot of startups which are working. This division is working with a lot of startups, and very recently we also had an idea when we said, listen, if you are an employee, generally you go in the mornings, do the work assigned to you, and you have your own KRAs, and you just work for it, and not really think out of the box. But here is an opportunity where people, if they have an idea, or even if it doesn't pertain to their line of work. For example, I am in marketing and sales, but I have an idea about, let's say, how the material inflow should be there in the organization, or let's say on a production, an idea related to production. I can actually go to that division, and there is a specific, and it's a very nice sort of a free flowing environment. It's outside. There's a place we have taken outside. There you can actually work on your idea, and you can then take inputs from people of that area as well.
It's like a sort of a Maruti incubation.
It's an incubation, yeah. And you'll be surprised. We had almost 6,000 such ideas which have been generated over a period of time, and some of them, of course, really good. And we run a contest as well, where the best ones get an opportunity to be funded, and
this is only for Maruti employees.
Oh, for Maruti employees.
So not for outsiders.
Outsiders के startups के लिए तो है ही system अलग, जो तो है ही incubation का program है ही. But I'm saying even for employees. And that encourages people to think beyond their line of work, and that's so important, Some of the best ideas, by the way, also come not necessarily from the people who are working on it, but
Exactly.
people who have a sort of a outside view of the thing.
That's always
Yeah.
the case, basically.
So we are trying to encourage that with this system, so that the employees.
Has something been already put into practice?
Yes, in fact, there are 3 such ideas which are already, in practice already. And hopefully, we will, as the program gets more mature, you will see even more ideas fructifying.
And with that thought, we have come to our destination. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank
We
you.
have come back, and it was a great session. If you guys have liked this banter, please like, share, and subscribe. And that's Mr. Shashank Srivastava, Senior Executive Director, Maruti Suzuki India Limited. Heavyweight, heavy name, but a very humble and a very nice person to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank
see you soon on the Ferrari Express.
See you.